What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be taking a look at a title called King of the Dwarves. This game has the distinction, it's been on my wish list for like a rowdy long time, and we finally get to take a look at a demo here today after all these years. It's been sitting on the wish list for a hot minute. But today we have a demo and we're going to take a look at it for the next 30 minutes because I just can't keep my hand out of the cookie jar when it comes to any game that have my bearded friends that live underground. In King of the Dwarves, you're going to be doing, I don't know, it seems kind of like a hybrid that exists somewhere in between something like Dwarf Fortress and maybe Dungeon Keeper. I don't really know what all is going to go into it, but today we're going to find out. We're going to play for about the next 30 minutes and hopefully by the end of it we can decide whether or not it deserves a coveted spot on your wish list. If after watching this you wanted to get the game for yourself, I got a link for you down below. You can check out the demo there. Then on top of that, you can also take a look down below for a bunch of other Nerd Castle links. But let's dive on in, and along the way I'll give you my thoughts about what I like, what I don't like, what works, what doesn't work, you know, concerns that I may have about its development process or whatever else. Name your mountain. We're going to name it the Nerd Crag. Not the Nerd Cratiga, the Nerd Crag. There we go, dude. I swear to God, my fingers can work today. So we press the space bar to resume. This is where you will see your active quests. Oh my God, I've got quests. I am a questing dwarf. Let's do this thing. So at the beginning, we've got to actually assign some dwarves to be builders, and then from there, we need to build a study. That's the first thing that they want me to go after, because that's going to allow me to start research to get new buildings that will then allow us to become more advanced dwarves, laser dwarves, dwarves of the digital age, dwarves that are up in there hacking your mainframe with their dirty, furry little knuckles. I'm all about it, dude. What good is a kingdom without Wi-Fi and Ethernet, man? We gotta have some kind of connection to the outside world. Maybe set up like a little shop where people can buy all of our minerals and gems. You know what I mean? I hear that in the human world, they think that if you rub yellow gems on your face, it makes a cold go away, or it like improves your mood, or something else like that. For me, just personally owning a gem would improve my mood, just because it means I'm on the come up. I don't own any gems. Zero. There are no gems inside my house right now. So let's get after it. We've got 4 dwarves to start out with. Okay, that sounds like something that's probably manageable. Let's get like 2 minor dwarves, I suppose. Nope, not 4. And then we'll get 2 builders, and hopefully that'll get us, maybe we'll do 3 digging dwarves. And let's start like hollowing out a space where our hallways can flow from. So I always like the arrangement of like a 5x5. I always stick to 5x5s when I play games like this, so let's keep it 5x5. There we go. Unfortunately, we're going to be a little bit susceptible to outside sapping and invasion if they ever find out that they can just blast through that wall right there, but I'm going to hope that they're just simply not that smart. It looks like our little dwarves have begun to do dwarf-like things. It looks like they've got little mining helmets on, and it looks like the builder's actually got himself like a padded gambeson. So we do have outfit swaps here when your dwarves decide to undertake a brand new job. That's a good thing. That makes me happy. I like things like item swaps when you're playing games like Goblins of Elderstone, or you're playing something like Dwarf Fortress. I like it when their appearance changes, when they have a different job designation. I'm going to set it on high speed because something tells me it's going to take a little while for them to dig their way through, but a nice little satisfying stone crumbling sound there as they're whittling away at the walls. I'm guessing that that right there is probably going to give us wood if this is anything like Dungeon Keeper. And it looks like we've got a slot opened up right there for our inaugural study. So let's go ahead and see if we can find the study inside of here. There it is, the study, a place where scholars study to increase knowledge. A maximum 8 per working scholar. Okay, so 3 scholars can work inside that desk. Let's get that going, and it looks like our builder dwarf has skipped to Maloo and is trying to get that done. So I'm guessing he's gathering up the wood and he's delivering it to the build site. That's exactly what he's doing right there. However, it looks like we don't have access to incremental building where he actually throws the parts in piece by piece. I would like to see that. That's one of those things that I just expect from a city builder at this point. I like watching the building get the little struts put in, and then you've got the support beams, and then they get the cross beams in there, and then they're like working on it one piece at a time. Just makes it feel oh so satisfying in a mosaic-like way. And with our halls rapidly being whittled away, we have our first study. So when we put people inside the study, it looks like it's going to generate knowledge points that we're going to use in order to invent new things inside our society. So, you know, right now we're like caveman dwarves. We don't even have access to iron yet. So we're definitely going to have to work on that. However, water pumps, mining solid rock, digging up and down, mushroom farms, we got to hit the basics first so that we don't starve and have our beards fall off, because who would ever wish such a fate on such a noble people? Let's assign the builder to go ahead and be a scholar. What's he going to look like when he becomes a scholar? Is he going to get like a little university outfit that he's going to play around with? Also, does this pump need to be primed with any type of resource or anything? Oh, it needs to be primed with alcohol. So apparently, we're just going to get blazing drunk before we decide to do research. And it looks like he's going to work right now, so the different workstations, they do have little animations, so he's pondering, he's thinking, how can we make our alcohol even more effective? How can we become the more dedicated alcoholic that we deserve to be? I respect that. That's good. It does want me to assign another person to be a scholar before it's going to let me get past this. And so there we go. Now we've got 2 scholars signed up, and we have enough knowledge that technically we can invent water pumps. So let's just start from the top. I'm not going to get super creative with it. We'll start from the top of the research, and we'll just work our way down incrementally. So we now have access to water pumps, and it does indeed want me to build one. Okay, can I build a water pump off this ledge over here? I'd be willing to, like, sign up for that. Water pump right there, and then how do I rotate stuff? Ah, it's X. Okay, well, I expected it to be, like, on the R key, but, like, an X will do for right now. We might set up a secondary water pump, because I'm thinking just like every other organism on Earth, we might get a little dry. We might get a little bit flaky if we don't get our hydration requirements taken care of. But the good news is we have enough research right now to do nothing. This is what happens when making a video goes wrong. I can feel like a ping inside my head, like I just got a Discord ping that's like, oh, you're gonna have to edit that out. We do have time for another research right now, so I'll probably go for the mushroom farm. That feels like a thing that we're gonna need in order to keep ourselves fed. So I think it's gonna be our next goal, and it looks like he's finishing up ye olde Wasserpump. All right, so the Wasserpump is now done, and it looks like it's pumping water. Oh yeah, look at that, it's filling up our water storage. Gonna be important for the distillery, but do we check the quality of the water right here? Because I know next to nothing about brewing and distilling, but I've noticed that there's a lot of breweries in places where there's freshwater springs. That's all that I'm saying, is like if there's like a mountain spring flowing gently down out of a cleft, there tends to be a brewery near there. I don't know if it's the extra minerals or what that make the whole thing taste better, but now they want me to mine wood. I figured the easiest way to do that is just to do it outside like so. It may also be a good time for us to just cancel all these. Yeah, control click gets it done. I predicted it. All right, so you guys go out and get all the wood that we need in order to get past this next little section of the tutorial, and then we'll figure it out from there. I don't know if my dwarves are gonna default to drinking water when they inevitably run out of beer, because we do have beer over on this side, and that worries me a little bit what's going to happen when that runs out, because everybody here is a massive alcoholic. I also think we're going to have to bring in some more help. It doesn't look like we have enough dwarves, so maybe we'll arrange this area over here to be like a little sleeping quarter. I don't know, maybe I'll put in like fancy decorations over here to separate these, maybe. I don't know, give it some semblance of privacy. I don't know how it works when people decide to come live inside of our civilization. I don't know if they're just gonna do it naturally, or if it's one of those things where I'm gonna have to entice them to come out here and live like an absolute Cro-Magnon. But either way, our PR department is gonna be doing some heavy lifting over the course of the next week or two. Housing is now finished up, but unfortunately our research has hit a little snag. I guess our little guys get sleepy, and they've just got to crash out every now and again. So he hasn't been researching or doing the things that he's supposed to do, but it looks like each of these beds that we added, it does look like it added more dwarves to our workforce, so let's, like, play around with that. I'm going to get research chugging a little bit, because we have room for 3 of these guys to be doing their thing. I also need to get them back on the task of hollowing out both of these 5x5s that I was playing around with. There we go. So we've got that covered, and I think I had that over there, and I think I had that right there. And so once they get back to work, I think we're going to be in good shape. We've got 4 of these guys back up and ready to ride. So let's get another builder, and then we have workers. They do food farming, they brew beer, and they also serve food and drinks inside of our pub. I'll assign them when I end up needing them, but for the moment, it looks like we're at a little bit of a stopgap right now until we get digging up and digging down. So we need 10 research in order to accomplish that. We also need the prerequisite mining solid rock, so I'll get that stuff taken care of, and it does look like they're whittling through the solid rock quite a bit faster. Either that or I just panned over here and took a look at what he was doing at exactly the right moment. It's kind of hard to tell right now. We might as well have everybody mining if we don't have any other jobs to assign. And then I'll just like taper it back once we get to a point where we need other workers. I would also like to get the mushroom farm going, but I haven't decided on a spot where I want it to be. So a place where mushrooms are grown. In 25 hours, we get 8 mushrooms. Do I have any kind of regression that's telling me how fast I'm going through this stuff? -7 per day. That's helpful. Like, I was hoping to get like a line graph or something, but like -8 per day lets me know, and it tells me straight up that this produces 8 roughly every day. So we're gonna need like 2 mushroom farms in order to make this whole thing function. I'll put one right there, and we'll start to get it built right this second. I'll probably put a second one over in this corner on this side maybe. That way we've got a surplus, because I don't know what events or like other RimWorld style things are baked into this title. These are my absolute first impressions right now, so I'm trying to future-proof based on the millions of little colony builders that I've played in the past, just because I don't know. I think it might not be a bad idea to get some extra stockpiles too. So if we've got wood storage over here, let's do that. And then on this side, we'll go with raw stone storage, just in case we end up needing that. We'll just use this as a general purpose warehouse for right now to keep things organized. How close are you guys to getting that done right there? Is that like almost finished off? I'm probably not gonna need the 10 diggers anymore. So let's get a couple of workers up here. How many guys work inside of each of these mushroom farms? Is that a piece of information that 3 people can work there? So we're gonna need 6 workers to get these things fully spun up and functioning the way we want them to function. And it looks like they sprang straight to work. So now they're pulling mushrooms from the soil, and that will, I really, really hope and pray, take a little bit of the oomph out of the amount of food and drink we're going through right now, because we're going through a lot of it. Like, sincerely, we're going through a lot of food and drink. I may have overexpanded out my population a little bit too rapidly. I just stamped out a whole bunch of things because I wanted more workers, but now I'm learning that maybe that was a mistake. We are looking a little bit low on wood. I don't know why my miners aren't bashing that out. Oh, we have it researched. Looks like it's some kind of ore. Okay, well then let's give them another assignment because we're getting low on wood at the moment. And so we'll have them just come knock down a whole bunch of trees out here and bring those back so that we don't have to take a break on any of our building. We have officially run out of beers, so we're gonna find out what the consequences of that are in just a moment. Probably nothing good. We also have 10 research so we can dig up and we can dig down. All right, that works out for me. And your dwarves need to rest, drink, and sleep. The game has now told me that we are ready to advance to a new age, and it reassured me that just because we ran out of beer does not mean that we're doomed. They will drink the water if they don't have access to beer. I think they're probably going to be missing out on some kind of morale buff or something. Can I click on these little guys? I'm not even going to begin to try to pronounce what that rune is right there. It looks like a P to me, but like it probably makes a completely different sound knowing the things that I know about antiquity. So like Brissing's daughter we don't have a whole lot of information on Brissing's daughter, in all honesty. Just says that they're a builder. And just like that, we've hit the Stone Age. It's weird because this number right here doesn't iterate into like the double digits. So it says we're just kind of like maxed out right now. Not enough knowledge to grab that. Unfortunate. So I was staring at it for a little bit and I couldn't figure out why I was not getting any research while I moved up to the Stone Age. And I think it's because these count as research storages as well. Like I really had to stare at this for a while and be like, okay, so I'm not getting any more knowledge. It's fully staffed. Why am I not getting more knowledge? Each one of these, I think, increases the cap on the... Yeah, it does. It increases the cap on the amount of knowledge you're allowed to have, as denoted by the meter right there. It's a really strange system to have it arranged that way. I guess it reminds me more... Like, what's a game that did it kind of like that? Songs of Six, maybe? Well, Songs of Six had, like, the assignments, but I don't remember if in Songs of Six you actually had a cap on the amount of research you could have based on the amount of studies or bookcases or whatever else. But dude, it took me a second to work through that problem. The tutorial didn't really say anything about it. I was sitting here staring at my workers, and at first I thought maybe it wasn't working because they weren't all inside the study at the same time. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just overstaff them and have like 7 scholars so that we always have somebody in the rotation. But then I was like, no, that didn't work either. I was really sitting here scratching my head about it. So these are both, if you go to play this demo, these are both storages, and they are also the location from which the actual resource itself is generated. It's an odd way to have that set up. I would have it distinguished if it was me, so I would add an item called a bookcase or something inside of here, or like a scroll case where it's like a wall-mounted rack where they put the knowledge, because once you spend the knowledge, the game doesn't make it super clear, but knowledge that is spent still exists, just like it would in real life. So like all the knowledge we have as a society is inside of books, and it's inside of data centers. Even though no one's actively working on it right now, it's inside of repositories. This game thinks of it the exact same way. So it's not just a currency that you spend, it's actually paperwork that needs to be stored inside these locations. It does make things more interesting from a graphical representation standpoint that you could have bookcases, and those bookcases would fill up as you generate more resource, and they would become more and more ornate the more of them you have, and like the higher of a generation or a tech level that you're at. So from a visual perspective, I like it, but from like a tactile perspective, or like from a logical perspective, it took me a minute to figure out like what they were playing with right there. They want us to research mining coal, so we will get that. I'll probably also grab the vegetable farm real fast so that we can get down to the beer brewery, because that feels like an idea that's worth playing around with. We do have a big surplus of food, so it may be time for us to expand out the amount of people that live here as well. So let's maybe think about the possibility of just grabbing more flop houses out here. I'm hoping that later on I actually get better beds that look nicer than this, but for the moment we're just gonna have a giant, I don't know, camp on the floor. You remember when you were a kid and your dad was like, you want to set up the tent in the living room and camp in the living room, or like camp in the backyard? That's kind of what we're doing right now. Bumps and bruises and mosquito bites and all. I would not relish sleeping on a floor, but it looks like they've got I mean, no, that's a bunch of planks with some hay on top of it. Okay, yeah, I would not relish this sleeping experience. I can already feel my lower lumbar throwing a riot. And then my guess would be, now that we have, is this coal right here? Is that actually what that is? Yeah, that's coal right there. Okay, so we definitely want to get the coal in order to keep advancing our goals throughout the game. Like, we're going to need that. The other problem that I'm running into is it keeps telling me that my dwarves are very tired, but they seem to only sleep inside this bed over here. I have yet to see a dwarf come over to this side and sleep inside of any of these beds on this side. Maybe it's because all of these beds have to be used up and they're more accessible. I'm going to destroy it. There we go. I'm going to force them to stop sleeping in that bed. There we go. Now they're utilizing the flop house on the left. Good stuff. Oh, I need a coal storage, dude. They're throwing out my coal right now while they're mining. Okay, so we've got to expand out an area to store coal. I'll probably just throw it, I don't know, over here. That seems acceptable. It's a little bit messy. I mean, these guys are definitely going to get the black lungs sitting that close to, like, coal storage. But maybe dwarves have, like, a special filtration system inside their lungs that stops them from dying catastrophically to microabrasions inside their breathing apparatus. You know what I mean? There. Now we have a coal storage, so we can actually mine coal. Let's get that finished off, and then I think I'm going to need, like, exploratory tunnels and stuff at some point to figure out where the goodies are at. This right here will probably be what leads into the area where our stairs downwards are going to be. That way, I can maybe build a guardhouse around this in order to protect it. But for the moment, let's have this run back this way too, just so that we're making good use of all of the space that we have available. And that has given us 256 coal. Okay. We have enough knowledge now that we can dive further on down the tech tree, and it looks like I need stonesmithing first before I can get the beer brewery. And how are we looking like on our total overall knowledge that we've spent? I don't have that number like anywhere. Where's that number at? So that one's at 14 out of 8, and this one right here is at 8 out of 8. So we're going to have like infinitely expanding scholars in order to make this work. Huh. Oh, we're losing knowledge? Weird, dude. It's so odd how they have that arranged like that. It really sincerely is. It's a strange way to have the research work. Okay, well, assign like 8 more scholars so that we're not actively becoming stupider every single moment that we exist. I mean, I wish I could say that that was not the truth. The older I get, the stupider I get, too. I definitely have like an Nth thing going on where I'm like forgetting where I left stuff, and I'm forgetting knowledge that I should definitely know. But for the time being, we will work around the weird research system in this game. We already got the brewery. I'll probably unlock doors real quick, too. That way I can start to like segment off and compartmentalize the base, just in case we end up with any type of invasion or problem. There we go. Make that look a little bit nicer. We'll make it look a little bit more crisp and clean. However, I think the mining area is probably going to have to be close to where they all sleep at. Otherwise, they may not effectively be able to get things done. So maybe we'll just make like a little digging nook over here. So it looks like mushrooms and also water get converted into beer. So that's going to be what we have to do here if we want to make this whole thing function. And before that'll work, we need refined stone, which I think we can put a storage for. We'll just put 2 of them over there, I guess. We'll have 2 refined stone storages over on that side. And I'm guessing that we need some kind of stone cutter in order to make that happen. Yeah, stone refinery. There it is. So we'll put the workstations over on that side. How many workers work inside of this thing? 3 smiths work inside of there. Okay, so I'm gonna have to start like depleting different jobs, or we're gonna need more beds in order to get this done. Those are gonna be our 2 main options right here, is we either need more beds or we need to have our jobs rearranged a little bit. Screw it, sleep in the halls, boys. We'll treat this like the refugee camp for dwarves that it is. I'm also out of wood again. Ain't that always the way that it seems to go? All right, let's put that down right there. I canceled it just a minute ago because I didn't think I was going to need 6,000 wood or 4,000 wood or whatever ridiculous amount of wood that I had accumulated. But here we are. And it looks like what we may have to do in order to make the brewery work is actually dig downwards, which I did not expect. So we'll put that right there, and we'll see if that makes enough room for the brewery, because from what I can tell, it looks like it's too high. And so I think that'll get us cooking with gas right there. But it's gonna be a little bit till it gets done, because we've got a tiny bit of like a worker shortage right now. It does look like they automatically build some kind of ladder or something that they climb up and down if you've got multiple floors, but I'm guessing it's one of those things that's just kind of like a temporary stopgap until you put in stairs. Yeah, that's what it looks like to me anyways. There we go. So if I knock that out right there, I should be able to put in stairs downwards. Do stairs cost like refined stone? What do those cost? They do. They cost refined stone. Okay, so we're going to have to figure that out along the way too. I don't have workers right now, and I only have 1 guy available that's decided to come live here. And we'll assign some smiths over here in order to make this happen so that we start getting refined stone together. What do the smiths look like? Oh, they have their own little outfit too. He's got like armor and stuff on. Hell yeah, dude. If you're not putting on armor that you smithed for yourself before you go to smith, are you really smithing? Hell yeah. And there they go. They're chiseling away. I don't know how much this is going to produce on a daily basis, but hopefully it's a decent amount. We'll see what they drop off. They should just put them inside these storages over here. Yeah, there we go. So you get like 35 per drop-off. That'll work because I'm going to need it in order to get both the stairs built over on this side and then to get the brewery built up. That way we have beer, because I've noticed that our mood keeps slipping down to 0.9 just briefly, and I don't think we want our mood to be that terrible. We'll put the brewery right there, and that's going to cost us 300 cut stone. It's going to take some coal, and it's going to take some normal wood. I think we can manage all that. I think it's going to work. We also have enough overhead right now that I can finish out, I think, the rest of this tree. No, I can't finish out the rest of the tree, actually. Okay, well, let's get better pouches. I don't know what that does because we don't really have, like, a description here. I'll also take structure stacking, and that's going to leave me with a 4 knowledge balance, but the downside is we are completely capped out on knowledge right now. I can't get any further knowledge. So I'm either going to have to expand this back wall out a little bit and make it look a little bit funky, which I think we could possibly do, just to get like rows of scholars working back here to keep it all organized. But the vibe that I'm getting right now, I took a look at some of the Steam pages, like some of the Steam images while I was waiting for the game to do like tasks and stuff like that and build up different resources. And it looks like you're going to have large blocks of troops that are fighting enemies and whatnot, which then led me, with all the other stuff that I've seen so far here today, is that they're trying to make like a dwarf version of Songs of Six. That's what it kind of reminds me of after perusing and running through the different media that's associated with the game. There's our first brewery. Do workers work here? Workers do indeed work here. Well, I've got some extra workers, so like I'll just throw them in and they can get to the brewing, I guess, so long as they've got an open place to work right here. It may not be the worst idea to just spackle the area with a couple of little beds and things like that too, so that workers that are working in this region can actually just pop off for a nap real fast. It'll also increase our pop cap, and I'm interested to see if it works. Yeah, so next to all of our major workspaces, let's just put in like a little worker bed area next to all the little areas that people are expected to be working in. So like for my scholars, you guys have like 3 sets of beds right there. And then I'll go in and we'll get a few more things to increase our research cap, because right now we're capped the hell out. And we're totally completely full on wood at the moment, so there's no reason not to do all of this construction. And then it does look like we are producing beer right now. My guess is that they're probably going to drink through all of it, but you can already see that their mood is getting far, far better the moment that we had beer available. And so I think that's going to get us over the hump with filling in the population cap that we currently have available. This is like a big number game. I was thinking it was going to be like RimWorld, where getting 4 more guys is kind of a big deal. This is a game where getting 4 more guys, irrelevant. We're trying to get up to like hundreds of dwarves here. Get rid of that ladder, dude. Stop using a ladder right there. Go up the stairs like you're supposed to, you mook. All right, good stuff. We're trying to have a unified design aesthetic here architecturally, so that the elves look at us and become incredibly jealous, and they want to be just like us. They give up on their stupid trees, and they come down and live beneath the earth just like us, except that we won't let them because we hate them. They keep trying to accumulate beer, but it runs out instantly the moment that it gets restocked. So yeah, we're alcoholics. We're big-time alcoholics in this society. But I may have to have a second brewery in order to make this function, but I fear that's going to tax my supply of mushrooms very, very aggressively. It's almost like having a hobbit in the house, so like, go ahead and knock that down right there, and you guys whittle away that wall real quick, and we'll see if we can fit a few more breweries inside of here. That way we're producing beer at a decent rate, and then I'll try to resolve the lack of mushrooms that we are currently contending with, but no promises. The plus side is that did get immigration completely and totally humming. So we've only got 2 right there. Add like 8 more workers, because I'm going to need to have a lot more breweries going in just a minute. And I'm also going to be building more farming solutions. We may want to replace, so we may want to only use mushrooms for making beer, and we may want to only use vegetables for feeding people. I thought that vegetables were going to feed into the brewery like it was going to be wheat or rye or whatever else, but that's not the way that it works. Let's put a brewery right here with that thought in mind. Maybe I'll put another one opposite and facing it too. But we do need to get the vegetable farms up and running before too long. So I would say vegetable farm there, vegetable farm there. We'll go vegetable farm here, and we'll go vegetable farm here, and we will never starve again. Let us all be orange with the power of carrots. We are going to need more stone, though, so get those miners mining. Get them, like, chugging away on all of these stone walls over here until we have more building space. There we go. That'll work out. Second brewery up and running. So just in case you don't like this microbrewery, you can go to this one over here. I hear this one has much better chicken wings than this one does. But this one right here makes a pretty mean burger. Like a little, you know, they've got like a bison burger that I think's got some punch to it. We are taxing our water supply a little bit heavily, so it may be time for another pump too, if we can get that in. I don't know if we want it right there. I think it'll be more efficient over here. That's just my opinion. They can access it from the left side, can't they? they can access it from the left side. So I'm going to queue one up for building over on that side, but we're also having trouble getting enough stone right now. And then I think the time has come. I think we're going to have to mine down into the deeps here. I've run out of stone on this level because I didn't realize till just this second, but only the solid stone actually gives you stone. I figured every time they knocked out a rock wall, we ended up with stone. No, not the case at all, but I do think that this should change. Like, this can't all be completely useless, this porous stone over here. Like, that can't really be the case, can it? Alright, so I ran into a little bit of a generational crisis. Like, I have a really hard time balancing out food and water, but I think I've got it at an equilibrium now, because in this game, I had people running back and starving and dying of hunger and thirst, but I figured out how to fix it. So, like, you really need to have these boxes right here. They increase your storage cap, but what they also do is they're a location where all of your dwarves can access any of the resources that are assigned to that storage that exist. And so you need to have like intermediate food storages all over the base in any place where food is being produced. That way when workers are out here digging and doing other stuff, they don't starve to death while they're in like the wrong neighborhood basically, because they do starve fairly catastrophically and rapidly. But what I've got going on right now is I'm destroying a whole bunch of ladders because these guys are maniacal ladder builders. Once an area becomes accessible to the overall society via stairs, I would strongly suggest you add a contingency in your code that auto-destroys all the ladders that now see, like the ladders need to be doing a check for their own existence to see if they are justified in existing or if there's already a pre-existing way for your dwarves to elevate here. So we're getting into like the stickier areas of game development right now with regards to just how the logic of a game functions. There we go. Let's drag that back up. I'm starting to mine out my pit where people are going to go down in order to get me resources. I only need to go down like 1 or 2 more layers and then we should be ready to rock. But I think we're in a good spot right now to close this thing on out, and I'll just let you guys play around with the demo. Definitely a little bit rough around the edges, but we do have research available and I need to spend it. So I need to go down and get pillars. I need to get basic carpets. We need to get ourselves into the Iron Age. And then from there, we need to get iron mining. And then I need to get the Garrison. And I also need to get, I think that's all that I need for right now. I think that should be good. Like, I don't think we need any more stuff. But for this guy right here, we're going to need iron ore. So I actually need to, like, figure out where we get that from. Because I've seen coal down here, but I haven't really seen any iron. So I don't know what level it starts popping up on. Hey, we've got iron. All right, so I need iron storage. Otherwise, that's just going to be a waste. I've got them hollowing out this area right here. I'm going to try to save that iron before they mine it. There we go. So that it doesn't like get thrown on the ground and cease to exist. Because I don't think there's things like resource piles and whatnot inside this game. So we're just going to have to figure it out as we go. Is that also iron? And so for these little miners down here that are going to just be working in the shaft, I'm making a little vestibule area. It's going to have a food storage, a water storage, and a bunch of beds inside of it. I do wish you had a way to toggle whether or not a bed allows more immigrants to come on through. Like, I would like some level of immigration control, because when I do these things, what tends to happen is... so you see how we're running out of beers right now? They're only going to be able to get beers out of the water barrels. They're not going to be able to get water out of the water barrels. And so I need to get a water pump over here somewhere too that will function without messing up my other water pumps as well. Like, we're a little bit ahead of the curve as far as beer goes, but it still runs out from time to time, and that becomes a problem. So we'll put a drink storage down here. We'll put a food storage down here, and then we'll need, like, how many miners do I have? I have like 13. We'll put like 3 beds down here, and hopefully that'll be enough to hold them. Then on top of that, we're also going to need like an iron storage down here, I think. There we go. Give me an iron cage down here. Give me a stone cage down here, and that should hopefully do it for now, I think. And then I'm just going to use this exploratory-wise to find the things that I need in order to get the garrison up and running. Interestingly, though, like, the reason that you have to, like, stair-step out all these resource storages is that anytime you explore into a new area, they can't get back to food and water sources fast enough, and so they just fall over dead. And so you're gonna sacrifice a bunch of dwarves every single time you try to go into a new area, just setting up these little resource points. Sort of humorous and kind of like a life is completely and totally worthless kind of way. But also, I don't like losing dwarves. It makes me feel like I'm failing at the game. And now that all of those things are built, I think we're finally ready to cruise. Like, we're actually accomplishing something here. Our water supplies are getting leaned on a little bit hard at the moment, but that's because water is used by just about everything in order to make your production function. So I definitely think they have, like, some balancing to do when it comes to the outputs. I definitely feel like you should be getting quite a few more outputs on some of the buildings as just like a cursory thing that I've noticed. But let's take it back up to the surface and let's get this garrison built, dude. Let's do that. So what's the garrison gonna cost me? It's gonna cost me 200 iron. That's not that bad. But it also looks like the garrison is actually too high. So it's like a 2x cross that they've got going on. So I gotta figure out a place to actually put it. I don't know if the threats are gonna be down in the deep. If the threats are gonna be down in the deep, I guess technically we could hollow it out down here and put it down on the bottom layer. I bet they are gonna be going with dwarf tropes. I bet all the threats are gonna be way down in the bottom. It also looks like we can start retrofitting all this and putting in stone blocks and like stone floors and everything else like wood floors. Can't wait to do that. It does seem like a game that naturally lends itself to like the decorative arts, you know what I mean? Like making the place you live at look pretty. So if I wanted to do my garrison, I can put it right here now? Okay, good. So I'm gonna put the garrison right there just to get it finished off. That way we can assign our warriors and just sort of like see what happens. There we go. We've got it all set up. So now we're ready for warriors. Assign my warriors. I wish to see them go into battle. Is it the little red guy right there with the horns on his helmet? Hell yeah. A warrior. Oh, and he picked up like a little axe over there. He's ready to rumble. Let's go. How do I set up like rally points and stuff? I don't know if I even want to know. Either way, this right here is called King of the Dwarves. It's interesting. It's really rough. It obviously needs like some balancing and some input-output things figured out. But I dig what they're playing around with. I would definitely play like a dwarf version of Songs of Six. That's really all I have to say about it, is that it's early on and it's promising. There's a lot of little margins and things that I think need to be worked on in the way that the internal game checks its own systems and checks like before it sends dwarves out to do something, are they going to starve to death before they do that job? And then pings the player and is like, hey, we need another way station. I think we could probably condense some of these storages around, but then it would lose a little bit of its granularity. So we'll have to wait and see. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so that you don't have to. Today up on the chopping block, we were messing around with King of the Dwarves. Tomorrow we'll be messing around with something else. Thanks, folks.